to Cyber Sidekicks, the weekly cybersecurity podcast hosted by Richmond Advisory Group's principal analysts, namely me, Rory Duncan.
And me, Christina Richmond. This podcast is your go-to partner for understanding the cybersecurity market, industry trends, and the real-world challenges of protecting organizations today. How are you, Rory?
Hey, Christina. No, I'm not feeling the best today, I must say. I'm a little bit subpar, but it didn't develop into anything worse than a really bad sore throat yesterday. So fingers crossed that it's...
Fingers crossed, indeed. Yeah, don't get that nasty nimbus again.
No. I think it's this time of year, college students go back, the kids are back at school. You get lots of these bugs and coughs and colds going around.
Well, for you and for our listeners, take your immune boosting things, get your ginger, turmeric, vitamin C, whatever it is that you like, oregano oil, olive leaf. I mean, people have all kinds of remedies. And so get into your cupboards, find your solutions, and don't get sick.
Yes. That's the first learning for today. Don't get sick.
Don't get sick. If you can possibly avoid it.
So what have we got coming up in this week's episode then, Christina?
Yeah. So Google DeepMind has released a new product called Code Mender, which I find really fascinating, Rory. Thank you for the background on this. It's an AI agent that apparently not only finds security vulnerabilities, but also fixes them. Ooh. This harkens back to the conversation we had with Mark Hughes on our 30th episode.
Yep.
So 8 episodes ago, when he was talking about how agents would help us be better in cybersecurity. And we'll have a debate about that, right? Because there could be some failings, some challenges with it as well.
Yes, opportunities, but also challenges. We've also got coming up an interesting report I found, which was in Dark Reading, looking at the challenges of cyber insurance at a time when the number of critical vulnerability exploits, or CVEs as we call them, is rapidly increasing. Is the cyber insurance industry keeping up with what's happening or not? Well, that's something we'll discuss later.
Well, and that also leads me to give a shout out for a company that's in stealth and will be launching in a few weeks that may really help with this conundrum. So we'll, stay tuned for that when we chat about the cyber insurance conundrum with CVEs rapidly increasing.
Nice.
And then finally today we have Chaitanya Challa, product leader for IBM Data Security and Quantum Safe.
Right.
And we'll be chatting with her about post-quantum cryptography, or PQC, and some of the recently announced products in that area that IBM has. Because honestly, folks, they're keeping the foot on the gas pedal with PQE, and they're leading some of the charge. There are other companies leading the charge as well, but I'm really pretty excited about this post-quantum, what do they call it? It's the Quantum Cryptography Manager that they just launched.
Yes.
I'm kind of excited about it.
Yes, and indeed, the software kind of catching up with a lot of the hardware innovations that have been happening. So then also we have been talking about how we can kind of rev up our newsletter, haven't we, Christina?
We have. Thanks to the folks who've recently subscribed, you'll be getting the 4-page extract from our recent AI security survey update. I'll be sending those out probably today. But also we want to beg a little leeway for a few weeks while we sort this out. I woke up one day and said, I just don't like the newsletter. That's a hell of a marketing technique, isn't it, Rory?
Yeah.
Subscribe for our newsletter, but Christina doesn't
like it.
But hey, please do subscribe, because we are in the workshop thinking about how to make it more bite-sized, more consumable, approachable, navigable. We'll just take all the ables and put them in the sentence. But I think we'll come up with something that's going to be more modern, and I think it'll give more opinion and quick thoughts on things. At least that's our hope. Right, Rory? We're thinking about it.
Yeah, we're thinking about it. And to your point, we will consider all the ibbles, apart from terrible. That's the one
and
we
no
don't...
kibbles. No
kibbles
please.
or terribles.
But also, this is a shout out to give us your feedback.
Mm.
You can go to our website and submit the form just to contact us and just say, hey, love the newsletter the way it is, don't change it. Or could you kill this section? Or could you expand on that section? Or maybe you want a little more opining or a little less of that. So give us your feedback. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, first news story of the week, Christina, regarding Google DeepMind and their new AI agent. Its latest product they brought out is called CodeMender. So it's an AI agent that apparently not only finds security holes, but also patches them. And to your point at the beginning, this is a topic we've talked about quite a bit, particularly with Mark Hughes at IBM. So Google argues that such tools are needed because as AI gets better at discovering flaws, it will be difficult for humans to keep up with patching. And this is an interesting...
Boy, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. This was the article in Security Week. According to Google, this product will leverage Gemini DeepThink models, is capable of rewriting and securing existing code, which it says will allow it to eliminate entire classes of security bugs to prevent future bugs. That's a big claim.
So the first thing I thought of when I read that in your notes, thank you so much for that, Rory, was, oh, come on. That's just hyperbolic. Come on. And I got my dander up, if you will. But then I kept reading. And they said that CodeMender, and I love the name, have to say, love the name. CodeMender includes checks designed to ensure that the changes it makes do not cause regressions or other issues. Okay, yes, you have to say that, but I didn't believe them. I'm just being honest here. I was like, oh, come on. It's going to get rid of entire classes of security bugs, and it's going to not cause regressions or other issues. I didn't believe them until the last sentence in your notes, which is?
Yeah, DeepMind says it's being cautious and all patches are reviewed before being submitted. So this is not just a hands-off thing. It still has that human in the loop, which
thank goodness.
We've been talking about that ad nauseum for months, right? The human in the loop is important for any of these things because sometimes things can go wrong or awry or drift can come in or hallucinations or whatever. So that's important that they put that in, I think. So, Christina, here's another story. And as we know, common vulnerabilities and exposures are increasing. But what does that mean for cyber insurers? And it's this interesting article in Dart Reading. It talks about cyber insurers aren't necessarily altering policies. And I think part of this, as we will learn, is about the kind of carrot and stick approach. So, when it comes to insuring against cyber risk, some insurance carriers and brokers are taking a proactive collaborative approach, right? So that's the carrot, right? Yeah. So helping policy holders mitigate the risks. But there's others, this is the stick approach, opting for a more assertive stance by penalizing policyholders for not promptly patching vulnerabilities. Now, the reason we bring this up is because of this vast increase in the number of common vulnerabilities and exposures, CVEs. And I just referenced MITRE. So by mid-September this year, MITRE had listed approximately 33,000 CVEs, which is nearly double the amount published in all of 2020. So for 5 years, it's about doubled. And at this rate, the article says we could expect to see nearly 47,000 this year. And those are the ones that are published, right? Many vulnerabilities are never assigned a CVE, and there will be a backlog, etc. So, Christina, this is quite serious.
So, Rory, I think CVEs and the proliferation of them and the exponential growth of them is always going to be a huge challenge. I loved the CodeMender DeepMind project that will hopefully help us automate some of the patching of those vulnerabilities over time. But absolutely, it is a challenge for insurers, I think, to keep up with this. They've had a challenge over the decade that they've been growing their practice in cyber in looking at actuarial data overall. So the data that tells them about how the companies that they're insuring are using their insurance, how much of that is used for incident or ransomware, for example, to pay off ransomware or to remediate an incident. And they've developed a lot of tools, these insurers, and there have been a lot of startups that have come out that are trying to solve the visibility into, the discovery into all of that actuarial data and to help them get a grip on it. Then you add the challenge of CVEs, and yeah, it's a big hot mess. I do want to give a shout out for a company in stealth, and I'm now at the point where I can just barely mention it. It is called Spectrum.ai,
Mm-hmm.
and that is their website, Spectrum Labs, and it's Spectrum with a K, Spektrum.
Okay.
And what is going to be very interesting, I mean, their website already today shows that they're working with some insurers like Chubb, which is in this article. They're working with large vendors like CrowdStrike or Sophos. They're working with service providers like Booz Allen. So what they're attempting, and I think they have a very slick capability here, is to take all of the telemetry in vendor tooling for security and tokenize it and attach it to a record, a provable record that shows you, yes, I have MDR. It is stood up properly. It is running properly. And we can attest to that. And then to take the insurance requirements and add those into the dashboard. And then also to take backup and recovery metrics and put that into the dashboard. So I'm doing some work with them, Rory, as you know, and I've just been working on a technical review of their capabilities. Like any startup, they're running hard and fast, and there are certain things that they may want to change with time as they have their funding come through. But I think they're really one to watch. So watch that space.
Great. Thanks for that. It's really interesting and something we can do a follow up on in an upcoming episode, I think.
Absolutely. We'll have the team on to talk about it.
So this week's special guest is Chaitanya Challa, who is the product leader for IBM Data Security and Quantum Safe. Welcome, Chaitanya. Thanks for being on the show, and thanks for being on your first podcast. We appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Rory, for having me here on the podcast. Thank you, Christina.
We're so excited to chat with you today, Chaitanya. Really, thank you so much. You know, usually we ask a question at the beginning of a chat with one of our guests where we say, hey, what's been keeping you up at night? Usually we say it in the present, right? We say, what keeps you up at night? And in one case, a gentleman said, oh, my 10-month-old.
Yeah.
And so we went through all of the story about his being a new parent and all of that. But in your case, really, it is what has been keeping you up at night. And I'm going to guess that it has something to do with the launch of the Quantum Cryptography Manager that you've just closed. You've just launched it, haven't you?
Yeah, just 2 days back. So it's so
Oof!
exciting. Yes.
It was exciting, but so much work, wasn't it?
Yes.
I mean, you outline in your LinkedIn how so many people came together. It was almost like this miraculous kismet of people actually being focused on it and showing up and doing the pieces that they said they would do, which I know in product management can be very, very hard because everyone's busy. Not everybody thinks that something is as equally important. So tell us just a little bit first about how that went from concept to market in under 6 months, you say.
Yeah, absolutely. Would love to share this journey. This is first time that we went on this journey of, taking a product from concept to launch in just under 6 months. And it involved a lot of stakeholders and contributors, 100 plus, and a very
100.
100 plus.
Wow.
So when you ask me what kept you up at night, this is a very geographically distributed team. So I can tell you how many nights I've spent on calls with my team across the globe, but it was also productive, passionate discussions. We, in fact, had a 1 week long workshop sometime in mid-June. That workshop was based in India, and we did it during the India hours. So I was up all night for 5 straight days, participating in that workshop virtually while they were doing all the whiteboards and bringing all these, concepts to design. But it has been such an accomplishment when we now look back. I think that was the week where we got complete alignment on the vision, on the strategy, and every single individual who worked on this was speaking the same story and the same language. So it is so critical and important for alignment. It's not the technology or the innovation that is the biggest factor. I think it only scales when it's understood by everybody. That is where, I step in, and my passion is about simplifying complex topics like post-quantum cryptography and make it easy to understand so everyone can, contribute their best.
Well, and that's really why we wanted to have you on. I mean, first of all, it's really impressive to take 100 people and drive the inspiration, drive the discussion, because you want the discordant voices. You want everyone to be able to give you their points of view. And people need to be heard, right? They need to put their point of view out in order to then maybe adopt a new point of view, let go of their point of view, join your point of view, or convince you that there's a different direction. So the other reason that we wanted to have you on is that I think quantum, and Rory has a lot to say on this as well, so I'm sure he's going to jump in. Quantum is very misunderstood. I like to think of it as almost a Y2K problem, where people, put it down as insignificant when it really could be quite significant if all of the teams working with the systems that needed to change their clocks in the data and in the systems, if they hadn't changed the dates and how they were programmed, we would have had a great deal of difficulty based on that turning of the century from 1999 to 2000. So I kind of liken quantum to that. Tell me where you agree or disagree, and tell our listeners why they should care today about quantum safe.
Yeah, absolutely. You brought up a very good analogy. I love analogies too, by the way. So, relating it to the Y2K problem, yes, it is somewhere related to that because it is going to be a transformational change. However, with Y2K, it was more of a one time. With quantum, it's going to be an evolution. It's going to be a continuous process. And that is where, we talk about crypto agility. So we are talking about moving away from static cryptography. And by cryptography, we refer to keys, secrets, certificates, your algorithms, your protocols, all of that. So we are moving away from static cryptography to continuous posture management, continuous compliance, to be able to upgrade as these encryption standards evolve. So to your question, why now? I would like to, again, take an analogy as an example. Do we prepare ahead of the storm or once the storm hits us?
Right.
It's like, getting your sandbags in place, stocking up before the storm actually hits. So quantum safety now is similar. It's about updating your locks and keys before the burglar learns a new trick. So the encryption that protects the data today, like a strong safe, can be broken by the quantum computers. It's commonly referred to as harvest now, decrypt later in the quantum safe language. It's retroactive. So hackers could steal encrypted data now and use quantum computers to, get access to it later. Your protection has to be strong enough now to prevent that from happening in future.
Yeah, I like the analogy of the storm quite a bit. And the other thing I have read about quantum, this preparation for post-quantum is going to take time. As you said, it's a transformative, evolutionary cycle. And yet it could take up to a decade is what I'm reading. Right? But these quantum computers might be capable of breaking encryption even within 5 to 6 years. So if we're taking 10 years to get ready for the storm, but the storm is set to hit in 5 to 6 years, we don't have enough sandbags. Right? right?
Picking up on Christina's point, actually, about evolution. So, we've been covering technology for many years, and things like AI and Gen AI are often positioned and are currently positioned as this revolution, right, which is kind of disruptive. On the case of quantum and cryptography, the industry's been quite careful to position it as this evolution, to your point, which actually is much more in line with how companies develop their capabilities in these areas, how they evolve their infrastructure, their talent, their use of applications, their business needs. It's never an overnight thing. And certainly it was the case with cloud technology. Again, it happened over time. There were step by step by step. It seems as if quantum has been positioned by IBM and others in a much more realistic way. There's not huge promises of something happening overnight or tomorrow.
Yes, absolutely. And you also brought up a great point there, AI, right? We all had seen how in the past couple of years it has rapidly accelerated. The adoption has grown exponentially. If you were to talk about AI, 10 years back and say, oh, it's going to be the next big thing in a decade or so, we wouldn't have anticipated that. And now, because of the AI adoption, it also is a contributor, or you could say a driver, to think about quantum now. And you could ask, like, how are these two related? So with the increased adoption in AI, the data that is used to train the model is also evolving massively. So there's huge volumes of data with enterprises and organizations. All of that data needs to be protected. And this all data is protected using cryptography, right? Your keys and secrets and all of this. Now, within the AI as well, there is contextual AI that stores all the information about your personal details and a lot more. So security becomes a priority and not an afterthought, even for AI adoption. And then we talk about quantum safety for this data. So as much as it's a journey towards quantum safety, the starting point here is not resolving or protecting directly. As anything, you need to know what you want to protect. So the first step is discovery, to be able to identify where your cryptography lives across your systems, which databases, which applications use which keys, which certificates, identifying, building that inventory of these objects and related applications or assets. Then, using that discovery and inventory, you then assess the risk, prioritize it. Okay, there is, something, that production database or some application that deals with a lot of personal or financial information that needs to be prioritized. And the next step there is then, what we call as crypto agility. This agility is bridge between today's encryption and tomorrow's threats. So start off with visibility, move on to agility, and then the actual transition to post-quantum algorithms becomes a lot smoother. So it's still an evolution, but not disruption.
And that's a great way of outlining it. Thanks for that. But my question, I suppose, is being, historically being a software guy, I've looked and followed quantum through a hardware lens in many ways. A lot of the focus from IBM and many other companies tends to be on, the building blocks, the chips, the servers, the supercomputers, and so on. Because obviously it's such a physically delicate medium in terms of operating at certain temperatures, etc., etc. But clearly software and the software stack plays an important part in that. And I know one of the announcements this last week was relating to the software stack. Are we seeing the emergence of the software as being the kind of the on-ramp now, so that quantum and cryptography can be taken more seriously by a wider group of people in the enterprise?
Yeah, absolutely. And as we talk about quantum safety, for enterprises and organizations, we take it seriously too. So we are all part of software development organization. So, we keep getting asked by our customers, oh, you are sharing all this about quantum safety and launching new products. Are your applications, are your products quantum safe? So we start at home, because these are the softwares that will have access to the crown jewels, right? Your keys, certificates. So before we actually protect those, our own softwares also need to be quantum safe. So yes, softwares do play a very important role, and quantum safety again starts at home, so it shouldn't again be an afterthought. And there are open source tools and technologies as well, which will provide you with that visibility, which you can get started with, and then take that learning. And this is for software developers, right? Because you asked me how. I recently did a session at DevConf here in Boston,
Oh, yes.
where this was a topic where I presented how developers, DevOps, SRE, platform engineers can also participate in this PQC journey.
Okay, that's good. One thing that came to mind, we were talking about this, and it often comes up in the discussions with guests, is the rate of change of technology can sometimes create other issues. And again, I refer to, let's say, generative AI, where the rate of change is so vast that things like basic guardrails, regulations, compliance concerns, it's very difficult to keep track because it's changing so rapidly. But it seems as if with quantum, PQC, and so on, that we do have time to get those things in place. What's your feeling? What's your feeling on how ready the industry is to consider, standards, regulations, expectations on best practice, etc.? Do you think we're in a good position to develop that?
Some industries definitely are moving faster than the others, again, due to the regulations and the compliance mandates. So, for example, the financials and the telco, the heavily regulated industries, they have a stricter mandate when it comes to compliance around NIST or GDPR, HIPAA, PCI. So it depends on the industry, but there is a lot more awareness, I would say, across the industry. Like 2 years back, if we were to have this conversation, it would be more educational. But now, when we enter into any of these conversations, there's already an awareness, and it's more around what can we do about this problem. So, yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think you're tracking at IBM, you're tracking this needle as it moves forward of awareness. And I'm really curious to have a demo actually of the quantum safe readiness score. You've got this index that IBM
Yeah.
has created called the IBM Quantum Safe Readiness Index, right? QSRI. And so what's interesting is that you're looking across these three domains, and you've talked about some of it already: discovery, observability, and transformation, and have come up with this whole kind of set of metrics in order to grade where companies are. And then you call out the top 10% who are quantum safe champions. Can you tell our listeners a little bit more about it and what kind of companies you're seeing? For example, you said the telcos and financial companies, but I don't know if any of them are public, but give us a sense of who that company is or what type of company that is who might be in that top 10%. What are they doing? And how do our listeners bring their company into that top 10%?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So when we talk about financials, they're mostly these large banks which deal with a lot of credit card information. Again, it's a easy target for harvest now, decrypt later
Yes.
scenario, right? So, and then when we talk about telcos, there are these network providers that are, again, they have a lot of personal information of the users. And there is also a risk of supply chain attack when it disruptive ones, right? And then there are the mandates around, because they deal with sensitive information, personal information, and could be disruptive. The mandates are harder. So, in addition to that, most of these organizations or enterprises, in addition to using third-party software, they have a lot of homegrown applications which are proprietary to those for their internal needs. And that is where the challenge really comes in. Like, how do you identify the vulnerabilities or the quantum readiness across these? And it's not just software applications. When we talk about telcos, there are IoT devices, there are
Mm-hmm.
routers, switches, and it's a massive landscape. So to be
Mm-hmm.
even able to perform that operation of discovery, which is the first step, it's a long process. So they need to get started really early and now to be able to get that full inventory across.
Yeah, and so the features of this new product that you
Mm-hmm.
have, from what I'm reading, are exactly that.
Mm-hmm.
Discovery, finding your inventory across
Mm-hmm.
all of that, right? That
Yes.
whole very disparate,
Mm-hmm.
challenging landscape.
Yeah.
And then assessing, right, and
Mm-hmm.
seeing how compliant you are to post quantum.
Mm-hmm.
What have you done to move the needle towards the standards or regulatory controls that are coming up, like the NIST
Mm-hmm.
standards,
Mm-hmm.
for example? And then also managing the life cycle
Yes.
of the cryptographic object,
Mm-hmm.
which I found really, first of all, the inventory piece is difficult just in cybersecurity overall.
Mm-hmm.
But then taking it to the step further and looking at just the cryptographic
Mm-hmm.
pieces and across such a broad landscape is difficult. But then also applying the management of the
Yeah.
cryptographic object, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you just give us a little sense of how you got to this place of we need to have discover all the way
Mm-hmm.
through protect and adapt?
So, in my various conversations with different customers and through personal experience too, when we are running into a problem or challenge using any of our devices, we understand what the problem is, but just knowing what the problem is isn't enough, right? You need to have a
Right.
pathway to fix it, resolve it. Imagine you are using an app on your phone which tells you what exactly is slowing down your phone, but it doesn't offer you how to fix that.
Right.
And it,
Right.
it tells you go buy another app on the App Store which will address this, and then those two are disparate, disconnected. That's the challenge we are trying to solve. So, we provide that visibility, risk assessment, explainability around what needs to be addressed. And in addition to that, we provide these lifecycle management and data protection, encryption capabilities all through the same product, through the same experience, so that you do not have to deal with multiple tools, multiple deployments in your
Mm.
organization. There's no skill building required on different technologies and tools, and different personas can use it too, right? Like if an executive wants to just come and see what's the state, they can just see. But then for someone, a practitioner, they would actually want to take action. But at the same time, the executive and the practitioner have visibility into the same systems, right?
Yeah.
So
Uh,
yeah, the information is same across.
That's great, Chaitanya. Really interesting to hear
Mm-hmm.
your perspective on that and your explanations. And we could talk a lot more, but sadly, we are kind of running long on this particular episode. However, it would be great to have you back on again at some point in the future if you would be happy to do so.
Absolutely. This has been such an amazing discussion, both with you, Rory, and Christina.
Now you can call yourself an experienced podcaster, you see. Now you've been a guest.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm so
Fine.
thrilled.
Great. Okay, well, thanks for coming on, and appreciate the time you've taken, and we look forward to having you back on at some point in the near future.
Thank you. I'm looking
Thank
forward as well.
you.
Yeah.
Right, let's wrap the show, Christina. Another long one, but a really interesting one, especially with the Chaitanya. Really good discussion there. Lots of detail.
I thought so as well. Really liked it. Yeah, so folks, we're so glad you joined us. You can get in touch with us via email. If you have been listening, we had something where you could leave us a voicemail, but nobody was. So we're not even going to mention it anymore. Just drop us an email at Christina@richmondadvisorygroup.com and Rory@richmondadvisorygroup.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, great. Thanks, folks. And we'd love it if you could tune in again next week and join us on Cyber Sidekicks.
We'd love you to join us next week when we have TK Kianini, who is the CTO of DNS Filter, and we'll talk about DNS security, which should be one of your first lines of defense, in my humble opinion. And on that note, thanks folks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.